Don't adjust your sets, don't adjust your TVs, your phones, your computer screens. It is not the Mocha 2.0 edition of the WrestleTalk podcast. It's the Canadian Mocha edition of the WrestleTalk podcast because I am with my favorite Canadian slash now UK resident, the one, the only, the brains of the operation, Tempest, and we are here to discuss NXT 2.0, Great American Bash. Roxanne Perez trying to be Roxy 2 belts coming up next week after last night's edition. But Tempest, how are you doing after you let out a lot of aggression and resentment before we went live? How are you doing after our countdown here?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, SP3. I thought I had gotten out of doing this podcast ever again, and yet here I am back to review NXT. I thought I'd gotten out of reviewing NXT in general with the introduction of the reactive news on WrestleTalk. But nope, here I am still having watched NXT, and I'm here to talk about it.
What a wonderful day it is. I got my kids in here. They're going all crazy because it was actually a good edition of NXT 2.0 last night. We had the Great American Bash special with 4 championships on the line, and see it's getting everybody going crazy here in my humble abode. But what did you think overall about the show last night?
Well, it didn't strike me as one of the top level NXT 2.0 specials. I've seen a number of NXT 2.0 specials that actually have blown me away a little bit, where it's like, this is the special we get for this weekly show. One does not equal the other. And this one didn't quite feel so much like that. It still kind of felt like an episode of NXT 2.0, but a better one than we usually see, where again, they focused more on the wrestling and promos that would build to matches than just stupid skits. But we did get stupid skits. So I don't know. It was a mixed bag for me. I enjoyed some of the matches. Others, I was like, that would kind of felt unneeded or out of place or whatnot. But I think that's just what you're going to get out of NXT 2.0.
Yeah, that's kind of their MO. And I would say that the reason why I think I'm saying that it was a better episode than usual is because I've had to suffer through the last couple of
Entirely
weeks where
possible.
it's been directly in the middle at best,
Mm-hmm.
shows, thumbs in the middle type shows. And I would say the second hour of the show was actually really good quality because you had 2 really good matches with the North American Championship and the NXT Championship main event. But let's talk about what the title says, what the thumbnail says, and that's all about Roxanne Perez, someone that we are both very high on, the former ROH Women's World Champion, tried to get her first title here in the WWE, and that was our opening matchup of the show. It was Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan, and JC Jane versus Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade for the NXT Women's Championship. I like that Perez and Jade, although I saw a lot of people, a lot of discourse on social media complaining like they're not really a team. At least they came out and they looked like a team with their matching attire. That's all I can sometimes ask for. The babyface started out with the advantage using their speed until a mistag by the referee led to Toxic Attraction gaining control and isolating Perez. At one point, Gigi made Roxanne bite the bottom rope and pushed her foot against the back of her head. I thought that was a nice little aggressive spot. It made Perez sympathetic before she got the hot tag into Jade. Cora and Roxanne hit a missile drop kick, Russian leg sweep combo. Didn't really connect, but they did get a 2 count. They then did their best impersonation of the Young Bucks with the double super kick, and then Mandy Rose broke up the pin by pulling out the referee. This led to her getting kicked out of ringside, and then it led to our finish where Cora broke up the high-low finisher from Gigi and JC, and then Roxanne hit Pop Rocks to become the new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. Perennial loser on this show, Cora Jade, has finally won her first title. I thought that it was decent enough for the people involved, at their level of experience. What did you think about this opener here, Tempest?
I think that is basically my sentiment as well. I don't know. I don't know how I felt about any of this. I didn't have strong feelings one way or the other about Toxic Attraction's reign going in. I didn't really have strong feelings about this team of Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade either, and I don't have strong feelings about the titles. And then I didn't have strong feelings about the match either. It was just, it's fine. It's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We did a whole tournament to do a shot at the tag team titles. And then the winners of that said, nah, we want to face the women's champion. And then we had a whole friggin' thing to do a women's championship match. And the person went, nah, I want to face the tag team champions first. So, like, I don't care. I don't care who wins the matches on NXT 2.0. I don't care who becomes number one contender. I don't care who's the champion. It doesn't matter. So the best that I can hope for is just a match that's a little bit exciting. I didn't quite get that out of this. Now, I'm excited. I'm happy that Cora Jade got her first championship. I'm glad that Roxanne Perez got her first championship. I think Roxanne Perez should absolutely beat Mandy Rose next week. Just push her as the new star of NXT because she's great. She is great. Genuinely, I think Roxanne Perez is one of the better women's wrestlers in all of WWE right now. And I don't understand any reason why they would beat her. So I hope that they don't. If they want to push her to the moon and give her 2 belts, that's fine with me too. I would be happy with that direction. But I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't get that much out of seeing JC Jane wrestle, for example. You know, like, again, this match was kind of fine for its experience level, but I'm not watching an incredible opening match. It was just, it's fine. It was fine.
Yes, that's the best.
No strong feelings, mind you. No strong feelings at all.
That's sometimes the best you can get out of NXT 2.0 is that was fine. That was fine for what they are. And you kind of alluded to the backstage segment that happened later on where Mackenzie interviewed the new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. Cora Jade talked about she's finally won gold in the WWE and she did it with her best friend. Perez talks about all of her success, winning the breakout tournament, winning the NXT Women's Tag Team titles, and she just puts it out there. She says next week she is going to cash in her contract to face the NXT Women's Champion Mandy Rose to end the Toxic Attraction reign of terror. And then later we got another interview with Mandy Rose with Mackenzie where she wasn't flustered by this at all. She wasn't flustered by, you know, her girls losing the tag team titles, and she's not flustered by the challenge of Roxanne Perez. And she says that Roxanne might not even make it to that title match next week. So I know you want Roxanne Perez to win, but just based on her just taking this opportunity now, I thought that they were actually built to it. And the fact that she just announced it this week, it doesn't make me very confident that she's going to successfully cash in this contract.
Me neither. I'm right on the same page with you, my dude. Like, I thought that, okay, we'll build this up until SummerSlam weekend when they'll probably do their next special or something like that. And you do the big coronation there and you go all out and make her the double champ and everything. Or maybe have them lose the belts before then. Doesn't matter. You go whichever way you want to go. As soon as they were like, okay, we're doing this next week, I was like, I don't think she's going to win then. And if she doesn't, who then?
I know who. Well, Booty Giuliani, Nikita Lyons. God. Yes, Nikita. I think Limba. Nikita Lyons.
No, thank you.
I think Nikita Lyons, who was at a barbecue, because the difference between Briggs and Jensen and the Street Profits is Street Profits had a cookout and Briggs and Jensen had a barbecue. You see the difference, ladies and gentlemen? But yeah, they had a barbecue.
Big old difference.
They had a barbecue to kick off the show, and Nikita Lyons was playing frisbee with Indy Hartwell. That's the woman that's going to be our next NXT Women's Champion.
I love playing frisbee with someone 5 feet from me. Hey, catch. Oh, hey, catch again. Nothing about the show feels real. This is not the point of the segment, but it really drove me nuts. They're just like, this is how you play frisbee. Like, no one feels like our genuine human.
Nothing about that was natural. At least there was
No.
like I mean, with both segments, I'm talking about even the Raw cookout and the NXT barbecue. Nothing about either of those segments. Anytime WWE does these segments, it doesn't feel natural. The only natural thing I've ever seen from a cookout or a barbecue in WWE was EC3 being depressed during one of those back in when he was called up to the main roster. That was the only
Mhm.
natural thing I've ever seen.
On this show, I had to like write it down because I couldn't believe the actual words that were coming out of my screen. When during all that, Ekman Jiro's like pounding a beer or something, and Briggs goes up to him like, "Hey man, you better slow down or you're gonna fall asleep like Wendy Chu," or something like that. And I forget who it was. Random anonymous NXT person says, Tiffany better not sleep on Wendy Chu. She's got a lot of tricks up her onesie. Who talks like this? Who?
Oh,
It's a bad cartoon. Because if it was
it
a
was
good cartoon, I'd love it. But it's a bad cartoon.
it was so embarrassingly. I was embarrassed to watch this show. Thankfully, it was like I had to do a show late night yesterday, so I watched it live. Thankfully, my whole family was asleep because if I had to watch it this morning, I would feel embarrassed with my 2-year-olds coming in and watching me watch that show.
I rewound that line like 4 times. I was like, that's not what she said. What was it? I was watching this show at like 1.5 speed to get through it quicker. And I had to like go back, make sure it was on the normal speed, and be like, what did she say? Because there's no way that this is what she actually said. Nonsense.
And for all of that, yes, we don't really see Roxanne Perez being Roxy 2 belts, but it is nice that Toxic Attraction lost some championships because we need some refreshing in the women's division. But we want to hear from all of you. What did you think? WrestleTalk.com/support. Send us those Mocha chats. Let us know what you thought about the Great American Bash. Did you think it was good? Did you value the second hour more than the first hour? Or were you totally fed up and mad that you have to even talk about this show like my good brother Tempest here? Let us know. WrestleTalk.com/support. Let's get into the rest of the show after the women's tag team championship match we saw earlier today. Braun Breaker arriving at the CWC. He's asked how his shoulder is, and the champ says he claims that it's fine. Then we get commentary talking about what's going on with Tony D and his extended family. And I will say, I'm sorry, like I don't know if this is supposed to be comedic, but I love the Tony D'Angelo family storyline. Because it's so over the top. Someone was murdered last week, and it was barely even mentioned on this show. But backstage, we go to the D'Angelo family with the returning Elektra Lopez. This is something that Sat's been asking for. Where's Elektra? And apparently, she's been at the ports because she has improved the D'Angelo family business by 20% at the port. She's the only one that has been doing good for the D'Angelo family since this merger with Legado del Fantasma. Tony D said that he said there would be consequences if he didn't win the North American Championship. So he shows Del Toro, Wild, and Lopez pictures of Santos Escobar in a hospital bed. He didn't really look like he was beaten up. He looked like he was sick. I don't. Am I the only one? Like he didn't look. It wasn't no bruises. He just looked like he had a bad tummy ache.
Yeah, he was on timeout. He was sitting in his hospital. Let me go. And they're like, no, we need to keep you overnight for observation. I'm fine. You're not fine. I don't know. He was fine.
He looked like the episode of Fresh Prince when Will had to get his appendix surgery. That's what he looked like to me. While that Del Toro will have to show their worth next week, according to Tony D, or they will wind up like Escobar. What do you think is like the final resolution of this whole merger with Legado del Fantasma?
I ain't got a clue. I think maybe Elektra Lopez will switch sides. She got the rub this week. It's like, hey, you're doing a good job, kid. These other two slackers. And that's all we got out of it this week. So like, I don't know. The only thing I have to go off is like, all right, he likes her, so maybe she'll get a promotion or something. Meanwhile, the other guys are not, and I don't know. You can't do a trios match anymore because you killed one of your dudes. So I don't know. You just go to another match with Santos and Tony D, and you get out of it that way. I don't know. Get Santos on the main roster, please. Get him out of a hospital bed. Oh my God. Yeah.
He's not even in purgatory anymore. He's in the hospital. This man's sick. He's sick of being in NXT 2.0. Yeah, I think that the whole line towards Elektra Lopez is probably teasing her turning on Legado del Fantasma and officially joining the D'Angelo family. That's where I got from it.
Mm-hmm. I would think it would maybe be something like that. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, but yeah.
Next we had Pretty Deadly. They are outside talking about the fashion movement in Exodus. They talk about you wouldn't be caught dead drinking beer in Exodus, and which brings them to Briggs and Jensen, who have their titles, the NXT UK Tag Team Championships, and Pretty Deadly promises to give them a great American beatdown. Okay.
I'm sorry. There will never be anything that anyone will ever be able to do to get me to care about Brooks Jensen. That ship has long since sailed. That horse has left the barn, cowboy, especially on this episode when he's still being a horny loser virgin at the goddamn pool party. Now he's just being a creep. I don't
Did they
like
make
this
it so
man.
obvious? Like he had the thing at his crotch area too. It was just like, God, like they haven't improved the jokes. They said last week that he was getting numbers and stuff from across the pond and in the US since winning the titles, and now he's back to the pervert version.
Listen, if you want to do a joke 1 week that a dude's like a loser virgin, do the joke 1 week and get your jokes out, and then have him be like, actually, no, I have had sex and I am, not a horny loser virgin. I like the appropriate amount of sex. But you can't run back the same jokes for 6 months. The joke is still just that he's a virgin.
Yep.
Bad cartoon.
It really is. It really is sometimes. There's like the dialogue and the characters are just very bad. I feel like I'm stuck in like a time machine to like 1993 WWE sometimes. And I'll get to that with someone's attire on the show as well. But one person that I know we both have been enjoying over the last couple of weeks is Wes Lee. He didn't have a promo this week. He did go one-on-one with Trick Williams, who came out with Carmelo Hayes. Trick had brand new music. He comes out with a boxing robe that says Trick Willie the greatest. I loved it. I loved it
because that was made by my friend Sway Archer. Great gear maker. If any wrestlers want to watch this and get great ass gear, contact Sway Archer on Twitter. That man is goated.
You did exceptional work, Sway. I will hand it to you. I love this. I loved Carmelo acting like the trainer with the water bottle, with the boxing trainer water bottle. Lee gets the better of Trick early on, who has to go into his corner a couple of times and drink water. But they made it very clear that Carmelo kept telling Trick which specific bottle to take the drink of water from. And this would play out in the finish of the match as Trick went to the outside and he poured the other water bottle on his hands while Mello distracted Wes Lee. When Lee gets back into the ring, Trick hits him with a double axe handle and then rubs his hands in Lee's eyes. He threw the water bottle to commentary and Vic jokes and says, "This smells like rubbing alcohol." And of course, it was rubbing alcohol that blinded Wes Lee, and then Trick hits a spinning big boot for the win. This was just 3 minutes. It was more or less, honestly, an angle more than an actual real match, and this was to put some heat on Trick, as obviously this feud is going to continue with Wes Lee. What did you think, Tempest?
like, I thought the finish was, per today's standards, creative. This isn't a finish that I see all the time. You don't usually see the ether-soaked rag, the chloroform-soaked rag used in today's day and age. You know, it's a little bit old school, and so I like that. That being said, God, this company is as subtle as a brick. I didn't need him going over and being like, not that bottle, this bottle. Like, if you just had him have him here, you take a square water at the beginning of the match in this bottle, and then, you know, just don't treat your audience like they're stupid. You don't need like 3 separate water bottle segments of a 3-minute match. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I don't know why Wes Lee is losing. Like, the gimmick is now that he's a loser who can't wrestle, can't win. He's small. He's a loser.
Yeah.
How many losers do we need on this show? Like, all the baby faces, aside from like Braun Breaker, are just losers. They get yelled at by Andre Chase. They lose 3-minute matches against people like Trick Williams who never win. Cora Jade's just her gimmick. They threw out commentary during that match like, what has Cora Jade even done this year? She hasn't done anything since War Games. What a loser. Why would you be promoting your stars that way? They're so ass backwards in this company, and they're so determined to make every single wrestler Daniel Bryan in the way that, Daniel Bryan got really over because we beat him a lot. No, you dumb fuckers. He got over in spite of what you were doing to him. So stop making every good guy on your show just a geek. I did not expect to get this worked up about this show.
No, it is true though, because Wes Lee, what we've learned about him with these great promos that he's done over the last 2 weeks is that he's, you know, he feels like he's been like lost because he lost his best friend. He lost the NXT tag team titles. And you would think that this was going to start after that promo in the ring that started this feud with Trick Williams, that it was going to start his ascent up. When that promo happened, I told Sat, I was like, I think that he beats Trick Williams and then he's a next contender for Carmelo Hayes. It just makes sense. Like, he doesn't have to beat Carmelo Hayes, but the win over Trick should lead to him going after the NXT North American title with Carmelo Hayes. And now it seems that we are extending this feud when it doesn't really need to, when Trick Williams has basically lost to everybody. I think this is the first time I've ever seen Trick Williams win a singles match in his NXT career. And you basically have defined Wes Lee as this loser who not only loses matches, he lost his friends, he lost his title, he's lost as a person. They have defined him down as 100% a loser.
Yeah, exactly what you had said. I think you beat Trick Williams and then you have like a perfect TV match challenger for Carmelo Hayes. Doesn't need to be on a special, doesn't need to be the guy who beats him. Just here, a big challenge, and you have a really close match. You take the champ to his limits and you still get beat, and you go, damn, I haven't got there yet, but I can feel myself getting closer. I know I've lost my tag partner and I'm figuring this out as a singles guy, but man, I took the champion to the limit. He says he's the A champion. Well, I came that close. And what does that make me? I'll beat him next time. Why can't you cut that promo? No, I don't understand why this has to be so complicated, you know? Like, I like this guy. His promos have been really, really good. He's the kind of guy who has a real story behind him right now that if you wanted, you could build him into a bigger star. But I don't know if they're against that or if they think they're doing that. And if they do, they're wrong.
I don't think they understand what they're doing, to be fair. I mean, this is the same company that had Braun Breaker lose during WrestleMania weekend to Dolph Ziggler. So even someone like you said, Braun Breaker, who hasn't been defined as a loser, he's lost some big matches himself. You know, Roxanne Perez, someone who they're building up on the women's division, she lost to Mandy Rhodes before she even got a shot at the title. So yeah, they can't seem to help themselves. But one person who's not a babyface that seems to be getting built up is Tiffany Stratton. We see her backstage. She's getting makeup put on her by the makeup artist. When out of nowhere, in comes Wendy Chu. Tiffany acts as the makeup artist for more powder, so Wendy Chu has a handful of powder right to the face, and this leads to a whole huge brawl in the picture-in-picture break. This was creative, though. This was different for them. That it was a comedy brawl throughout with garbage cans. Wendy Chu decided to sit in a chair like she was Mi Ying again, and laughed maniacally at Tiffany Stratton, who didn't see her sit in the queen's chair. Then they eventually bring the fight into the arena, and then when we come back from commercial break, the match begins. It was supposed to start later in the show apparently, but it began now. Stratton gets the advantage by smashing Chu's hand into the ring post, which really becomes like the story of the matchup. Wendy at one point locks on a sleeper hold until Tiffany once again attacks the injured hand, but Chu hits a brainbuster for a near fall. Wendy goes for a German suplex, but Tiffany lands on her feet. She stomps on the hand, hits a drop kick that knocks Chu into the corner, and then hits her twisting Vader bomb for the win. I thought that this was a developmental match, don't get me wrong, but for where Tiffany Stratton is at, I feel like she improves every week, whether it's on promos, whether it's in the ring, and this was at least fun and had a simple story for you to follow with the injured hand coming into play in the finish. So I enjoyed this for what it was, because I'm sorry, Tempest, everyone, I am a Tiffany Stratton mark. I love Tiffany Stratton because of that. Ever since that promo against Roxanne Perez, where she's like, oh, she rides on buses. Have you ever heard of a plane? I've loved her. I've been in love with this character. So I was down for this.
I don't dislike Tiffany Stratton that much, honestly. I think she's very fluid in the ring. Like, she has a lot of very smooth motions. The sort of thing that I don't think can be taught, she's got right off the bat. That being said, my critique of this match is I simply cannot get into a babyface who cheats and then loses. You know?
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to start a fight by throwing some crap in my eyes and I still beat you, sorry, kid. Like, you are no longer on my level. You go back to sleep now. So that's fine. I would have to again, fingers crossed. I'm still hoping for a Roxanne Perez win next week. That's my hope. If they do that and then Tiffany Stratton is the first challenger, I think that's perfectly fine. If they have Roxanne Perez and Tiffany Stratton as a TV match, I think that's great. But I don't know. Again, like you said, it was a developmental match. It was fine. I don't like when they start a fight and then cut to commercial. I never liked that. So stupid. But regardless, it's fine. Again, it was fine, I suppose. Stupid Wendy Chu. Like, some people like the Wendy Chu character, and I get why. Like, she's very good at playing the role of Wendy Chu. It's a creative wrestling character in an age where we have Orange Cassidy and Space Monkey and things like that. Weird, eccentric characters get over. But I hate this character so much. I cannot get into it. Like, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry if that makes me a hater. I do think Wendy Chu is a very good wrestler. I think she's very good and would like to see her. Like, genuinely, if she just had like more wrestling matches, I think this character would be fine. It's just like the squirting with the super soakers and then having a dream sequence last week and everything. I'm just like, I just skipped the segments, you know? And unfortunately, it means I try and fast forward through this match even more.
It only went 4 minutes, so you didn't have much to fast forward through.
It felt so much longer than that. Are you kidding me?
With the picture brawl, yeah, it was about like maybe like 7 minutes, a 3-minute brawl
Yeah.
backstage into a 4-minute matchup. Uh anyways, we go backstage. We once again see Braun Breaker, who's working out in his locker room when Cameron Grimes confronts him to ask about the shoulder, which Braun once again says is fine, and Grimes warns Breaker that he will do anything to win tonight. And then that leads into "That's So Apollo," because he could see the future, Tempest.
It's
If
the
you haven't
future
seen
I can see.
"That's So Apollo," I wanted that to be his theme song because his new theme song sucks. Why do all these songs are like such a downgrade? They're so generic. Like his Apollo theme was good. It was good. They added the Nigerian drums. Okay, you had to get rid of that, but just the song in general is so much better than this generic song that they gave him. What did you think about the new song?
Why can't we go back to the first song? The
That
first
too.
song was
Yeah.
such a bop. Bum ba-da-dum bum bum
Yeah.
ba-da-dum
Mhm.
ba-da-dum bum ba-da-dum bum. It's so good. It was like the most underrated NXT song. And I get it, CFO $, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. This promo, though, I thought was very interesting. Because I love when on their own product, the guy goes out there and be, man, my kids really can't watch that main roster crap, you know? Like they couldn't watch it, they wouldn't watch my matches. Your own guy's kids can't watch him perform on your show. You tell me how I'm supposed to watch it.
Because WWE's for kids, except if you're Apollo Cruz's kids.
It's so not for kids. It's not even for the kids of the people on the show. That's such an indictment of this company, and they don't realize it.
But this Apollo is good for the kids, apparently.
I
No,
love
but yeah,
this Apollo Crews. This is the most I've ever cared about Apollo Crews.
Yeah,
Which
this
is
is
a
actually
lot, to be fair. I'm down. I'm down for Apollo Crews getting a huge push.
This is actually better presentation even than his first NXT run. He feels important here. But yeah, he talks about his kids stopped watching him because they said it wasn't you on Raw and SmackDown. He credits his kids for giving him the inspiration to return to NXT. Cruz brings up potential matches with Tony D'Angelo, Nathan Frazier, the winner of the North American title match. He then brings up Cameron Grimes and Braun Breaker. And this brings out Giovanni Vinci, who says that he didn't make Apollo's list because Vinci will outperform him with style. Cruz suggests Giovanni get in the ring so they can fight one-on-one, and Vinci says instead that they will face each other next week on NXT 2.0, and he guarantees to beat him next week and says that gives him 7 days to come up with a good excuse for his kids. I like that. I like
good
that
line. Very good line. I thought this was a very strong segment on this show. Like it made me, I like Giovanni Vinci came out. I was like, I was hoping for someone a little bit better. You know, I was hoping Apollo's next match would be, you know, not the guy that debuted like just
to
last
be
week.
fair,
But
to be fair, it's better than who they teased he's gonna feud with later in the show and last week, Zaya Quinn. So I was happy to see Giovanni Vinci.
That's very true. That's very true. So it was just kind of like, okay, it should be cool. It should be cool. And then the promo happened. I was like, ooh, good line. Now I care. Now I want to watch the match. And really, that's the point of these promo segments. So I have to say that this one did its job.
Yeah, I enjoyed this, and I think that match is gonna bang next week. That's a match that I'm actually looking forward to because Giovanni Vinci, I'm not 100% into the character, although he didn't look the part this week. I think that he needs to come out like Cesaro with like a suit that he just rips off to start the match, something like that. I think that will put this over the top as far as presentation, but I in the ring, it's still Fabian Eichner. and he can deliver against Apollo Crews. I think it's going to be a really good match next week. We had a backstage segment, an interview with Ivy Nile. Mackenzie asks her, "Is this going to be the end of Diamond Mine?" Nile says, "Tonight we will see who the best tag team in Diamond Mine is." She is then interrupted by Kaden Carter and Katana Chance arguing with Tatum Paxley. She says that's enough, and Kaden and Carter, Kaden and Katana
I make
walk
that
off.
mistake all the time. Don't worry.
It's so hard. It's too many K's.
Yeah, Casey Catanzaro, Katana Chance, and Caden Carter. Like,
so difficult. Ivy tells Tatum that if she's gonna get herself into these situations, she's gonna have to get herself out, and she says to meet her at the Diamond Mine gym tomorrow morning. This is something that we've seen reports and rumors of, that they're gonna start a tag team with Ivy now and Tatum Paxley. What do you think about it?
cool. I like Ivy Nile a lot. I think she's got one of the more interesting presentations of anybody on NXT. I've kind of been waiting for her to be the highlighted women's performer for a good long while now. And I don't know if we're going to get that in the near future. We might. This might be just the first set of challengers for Roxy and Cora Jade, in which case I don't hate that. It can be like a learning experience for Tatum, but it's cool. I'm just more like slightly curious to see where it goes. I like Ivy now. That's really it.
Yeah, and I'm just all for them building up this women's tag team division, because I've been a long critic of the NXT women's tag team titles, of them not being a useful titles. I think the 24/7, I get more use out of that than the NXT women's tag team titles overall. But right now, the NXT women's tag team titles is far superior to the WWE women's tag team titles, so at least they're around and on TV.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, like, I don't even know who is the tag team champion. I was like, oh yeah, no one, because they don't matter at all. They're like, we're gonna have a tournament sometime. We'll figure it out.
We'll get to it. Don't worry. Stay
We'll
tuned.
get to it. We'll get to it. Yeah.
We get quick promos from Grayson Waller and Carmelo Hayes ahead of their North American title match, and then we get the North American Championship matchup. We got the big dramatic entrance music, like it was the Chicago Bulls coming out for Carmelo Hayes. Trick Williams gives him a grand introduction from the Bird's Nest podium, and his video wall even has Dream Team theme that says "Mellow Don't Miss." I thought that this was one of the best entrances I've seen for NXT. Like this, all those ridiculous over the top entrances that they gave Braun Breaker on specials, it's for good reason that they didn't give him one on this one, because it wasn't going to top what Mello did. This was great stuff. Mello even has the 3 on his knee pad, and they said that's a dedication to Allen Iverson. And I was like, this dude, man, he just continues to make me love him more. Like he's paying tribute to AI. Come on, how can you not love Carmelo Hayes? We get an even start between the two guys, where they're trying to do like the same moves. Then Mello uses his athleticism to get the advantage. He hits the fadeaway flawlessly, but then Grayson Waller gets the advantage with a pop-up back suplex, and he follows with a clothesline on the floor. During the commercial break, Waller hits the Hardaway elbow drop off the second rope for 2. Grayson pulls out a triangle choke out of nowhere. I've never seen him do that before. I was like shocked by that. But then Mello hits an Escalera for a 2, and he locks on a crossface. The two men exchange hard strikes, with Grayson hitting a Harlem sidekick for double down. CWC at this point is chanting, "This is awesome." They trade strikes again, ending with Mello hitting a springboard clothesline. Then Waller pulls out this move that every time he does it, I pop. He does like a throwback kill switch where he jumps over him into the kill switch position. I always love when he pulls that out.
It's a really creative new move that I haven't seen people use. Like a lot of the times now, I feel like most wrestling moves have been done, you know, and it's like it's hard to be innovative without being just like ridiculously over the top. It's just like, well, I'm gonna add a flip to it, which I guess is this, but I don't know. It's new and I like it.
I do. for all the stuff you can say bad about Grayson Waller, in the ring, he usually delivers in these spots here. Hayes goes for a tornado DDT, but Waller blocks and hits a rolling stunner. Hayes rolls to the outside so he can't get the cover. Grayson puts him back in the ring and then goes for his running up the aisleway rolling stunner, but Trick Willie gets in the way, which leads to Wes Lee coming out of the crowd to attack Trick. Waller shrugs and then goes for the running rolling stunner, but Mello catches him with a code breaker, and then he follows with the top rope leg drop to the back of the head for the win. Very good matchup. This went back and forth, some very entertaining action and sequences. What did you think, Tempest?
I thought this was also a very entertaining match. Hot damn, I loved that entrance. I didn't think we were going to get some big entrance on this show. I thought this was just going to be like, an episode of NXT 2.0 with, theatrics involved. But this was like, oh my God, this man is a star. Like, genuinely a big star. And it has been a long time since I've wanted to say that anybody on NXT 2.0 actually felt like a star. But after watching this show, like, I will give NXT 2.0 credit for this because they cannot make a babyface to save their life. They can't make a babyface. They can make heels. They can make heels pretty well. Some of the time. Not all of them. Von Wagner can piss off. Zion Quinn, I'm not feeling. But Carmelo Hayes should be a top guy on the main roster. Like, he is that good. He is being presented as such. He is such a star. And genuinely, I can't believe that they are still so fortunate to have guys that you can make into like top level stars in WWE, main event of WrestleMania level guys, even after firing so many people. Because there are a good crop of young guys, and he's one of them. I think Braun Breaker's one of them, and I say that they don't know how to make baby faces, and Braun Breaker is a baby face. They've done a pretty good job with Braun Breaker. I'll give you that. They'll give you the top champion and your second champion. And to be fair, that's probably the two things you want to get the most right. So I will give total credit for the pushes of Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker, save for that Dolph Ziggler business. So I'll give you those two. This, I don't know why it struck me more than the other great matches he's had. Maybe it was just like, oh, they're going with this guy. Like, they're giving him a big entrance. But I watched this and went, yeah, Carmelo Hayes should be at least in the conversation of like the next guy.
Yeah, he's a guy that I feel like he would be more ready for like Money in the Bank than Theory on the main roster. Like,
Absolutely.
he feels like a guy, I think no one would complain if he got called up tomorrow and got a shot at like a main eventer like a John Cena or a Roman Reigns, because the quality. He feels so much, especially on this show. Like we said in the first hour, a lot of it feels cartoonish. A lot of it feels like you're watching 1993 WWF. He feels like Shawn Michaels in 1993 WWF, where he can always be relied on to have a great match for this mid-card title. And me and Sat talk about it every week. The North American title feels like so above, or on at least on the same level to the NXT championship. It feels like the top title because multiple people go for it, and it's usually the match that always steals the show.
Yeah. And it's felt like there have been very few examples in modern day wrestling of a genuine secondary title that doesn't really feel secondary. There are a few. This, I think, is a big one. I think the North American title has been, for the most part, a success. It had an awful year in 2021 where just the champion never defended the title and they never won. So that was null and void. But otherwise, I think this title's had a pretty good track record. Like the TNT title, until recently, I thought was really good. And the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. That's about it. You maybe argue a few others, X Division title for stretches here and there as well. But that is, in general, my list. And this title keeps climbing that list. It just keeps getting better and better and better this year. And I think that says a lot about Carmelo Hayes. You know, the people in the North American title picture are very often the best wrestlers on the show, whether that's Cameron Grimes or Solo Sikoa or whoever it may be. But you're probably going to get the best match on the show from this title. And that makes me want to see the title defended more, wants me to see Carmelo Hayes more, makes me think Carmelo Hayes is that much bigger of a star because his run has been so good. They've nailed the presentation of this title since Carmelo Hayes won it. And I will give them full credit for that.
Absolutely agree 100%. And it's getting to the point where it's hard to view Carmelo as a heel. Like, he's so good. I think that he's eventually going to get like the pops, especially if they start doing like the specials and the bigger shows outside of the CWC. He's going to get those responses like a babyface, honestly, because he's that good and he always delivers. Mellow don't miss is not a catchphrase.
This is why they should have turned Roman Reigns heel like 5 years ago, because genuinely, like, if you're just a good heel, they will eventually cheer you. Yeah. This is not rocket science. This is not a secret. Like, everyone kind of knows that, except the people in charge, I suppose. But like, I've just seen John Wickham here, which I can't highlight because I'm not logged in on this laptop anymore, but saying that he's moving into The Rock territory, and he's not, like, obviously the stratosphere of The Rock as a star, but he's not wrong. He's so good that you are not going to be able to help but cheer him. He's one of the most charismatic guys on the entire WWE roster. And I almost went off on like another line of thinking. I was just like, well, they better not mess this one up though. Not again.
Don't
not after Hit Row. Not after Hit Row. You will not get me again. But I want the world for Carmelo Hayes. I didn't think when Christian Casanova signed with WWE, he would be the one to kind of like break through. And granted, he's having a good run in NXT and lots of other people have done that. But he's having a really good run in NXT. And I'm really, really happy to see that.
Yeah, he's like the exception to the rule of what's happened with the rebrand. I think that the rebrand has kind of helped him even more look like more of a star because of everyone that's around him, and he just always seems to deliver no matter who's the opponent. And it seems like they keep putting him against heels, so it also, you know, begs the question how long he's gonna continue being a heels, because he's just too good. Next we had a random barcode showed up on the screen that said scan here, and this has caused a lot of questions online. When you scan the barcode, it came out as 8, 10, 11. I've seen different theories put out there, but what do you think? What do you think this 8, 10, 11 stands for?
I ain't got a goddamn clue. Not a blues clue about this one. I was like, oh, interesting. I guess I will be checking Twitter more frequently during NXT now. Like, I don't even know what the 8, 10, 11 could be, because it's not a date, you know, August 10th and 11th. I don't know. I have no idea. I genuinely, not a clue. I don't know who it could be. If this is a debut, if this is the return of Triple H, I don't know. No idea. Genuinely could be anything, could be nothing. Not a clue. Gives me real big 2, 10, 11 vibes, I think it was, when 221 11 maybe, when the Undertaker came back on that Raw, and it was the first week, all you got was that number, and everyone went, oh my God, it's Sting! What's it going to be? I don't think it's going to be Sting this time. And I also, like, I have to imagine stuff like this basically is only maybe people coming in from NXT UK or something, because, like, I feel like if someone big had signed with WWE, we'd have heard about it. And if it was someone big, they probably wouldn't be going to NXT 2.0. So it's like, what kind of level of surprise are we getting here? I have no idea.
Yeah, it seems like more of wait and see. I think this was just the first kind of breadcrumb dropping in this whole story. Another story that was developing. We went backstage to Mackenzie, who interviews Zion Quinn, who says that Apollo Crews shouldn't be focused on the North American title and the NXT title matches. He should be focused on Quinn, who, when you Google a WWE superstar, a picture of him pops up in the suggestion box. And then he says,
Liar! 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 I call BS. Incorrect, sir. Strike that from the record. False statement.
It was very false.
WWE superstar, and Zion Quinn did not come up as an image or a suggestion.
No. But I mean, there are reports that he's been looked at by WWE higher ups as someone that they want to call up to the main roster. So he says that he is box office, and he claims that the future of NXT is Zion Quinn.
Again, this company is incredibly transparent.
Really
when he went off last week, it was like, oh, Mackenzie, I'm tall and I have muscles and I'm handsome, and I was like, okay, this is just Vince McMahon speaking. This is just Bruce Pritchard has his hand all the way up Zion Quinn's ass and is just talking. He's just ventriloquist doll. I'm just like, of course he's the one that wants to be, that he's going to be promoted and call up the main roster. Of course he is. Not any of the guys that are actually entertaining. Except for that one time he sang Shawn Michaels' song. I still like that segment for some reason. But like every time he wrestles, I fall asleep in a boring match with Santos Escobar. How do you even manage that?
That was something.
I don't know. It just, the company is the way it is. I don't know. Also, Manny Santos saying 8, 10, 11 is a Bible verse. I don't know what Bible verse that could be, but someone pull on that thread. Find out what that is, and maybe there's something to that. Maybe that's as good a lead as I've had so far.
Yeah, that sounds, I mean, the only leads I've heard are like joking ones that it represents Velveteen Dream coming back because his last DMs were the numbers.
Yikes. Wow.
Let that marinate. After we return from commercial, we go to Chase U, where Brody Haywood is sleeping in class. He says that his roommate doesn't sleep. Thea Hale, of course, is his roommate, and she says that they watch Money in the Bank like 100 times. Man, it must be very boring at that school if you're watching Money in the Bank 100 times. A new student, Chad, says that the Constitution was signed on July 2nd, not July 4th, and that it was according to John Adams, which leads to a big outburst from Andre Chase, where he says, who the hell has John Adams beat? And they suggest that Chase, you go to London because there's so much to research and see. Bodie doesn't think they're going to go on this road trip, but Chase thinks that it's a good idea, and apparently Chase U is coming to NXT UK. That's what I got from this.
Thank Christ they'll be off this show. I'm not even going to be watching this show anymore. But again, I don't want to be a hater because I know he's a good wrestler, but holy God, does this Andre Chase U thing suck. Like, I get that it's over in the crowd. They like doing Chase U. The chant's over because they have a quarter of the building filled out with these Chase U people. So yeah, it's going to be loud. Christ almighty. But here's my thing with the Chase U thing. I think this works fine as a sketch. Again, a one-time sketch that you tell the joke once and it's done. These NXT running gags don't work as stories because it's just you're watching the same episode of a sitcom over and over and over and over again. And it's like a Big Bang Theory quality sitcom, which is bad, by the way, in case you got that twisted. Like, who is going to Chase U Period. And why? If you go and you're like, this correct information, and you're like, oh, you idiot, God, here, God, chase you, idiot, blah, blah, blah. Why are there people there? Andre Chase never wins. You're not going to learn anything from him. He sucks. In storyline, he sucks. He never wins. It's not like Timothy Thatcher beating the hell out of people because, like, I might get stretched in the process, but I might learn something from this guy. He's a real deal. You're not going to learn anything from this dude. And it's the same thing as the Brooks Jensen version jokes. Like, who did John Adams ever beat? I've heard this joke so many times now. Yeah, it's funny. Who do you ever beat? I get it. I laughed the first time. What's the point of any of this? Tempest doesn't like Big Bang Theory because I've got taste. Sorry, audience.
Sorry, but I do agree with this. I think Young Sheldon is so much better than Big Bang Theory. And when a spinoff is better than the original series, that just says it all. That just says it all to me.
I'm in a mood today. Sorry, not sorry, but I think The Big Bang Theory is like one of the worst shows ever made. Watch that show with the laugh track muted. You can find that on the internet, and you have an existential crisis because the show isn't funny.
Oh man, I feel like this is the most heat Tempest gonna get.
I'm up.
We see
I had coffee today. So I'm all the way up today.
He's feeling jazzed up, ladies and gentlemen. We see Diamond Mine getting ready for the NXT Tag Team Titles match together, but everyone gives each other a fist bump, except for Roddy Strong, who walks off and tells Damon to come on. And this leads into the NXT Tag Team Title matchup: the Creed brothers versus Roger Strong and Damon Kemp. The Creeds got the better of Strong and Kemp for pretty much a majority of this matchup. Roddy slaps Julius at one point, and he comes in to distract the referee, which leads to Strong hitting 2 rising knee strikes to Brutus. They get a very short heat segment on Brutus following this, and then Brutus eventually hot tags to Julius. He runs wild on Roddy. He hits a series of overhead suplex. He hits his cartwheel suplex and gears up for the sliding lariat, but Roddy tags out to Kemp, and then Kemp comes in and gets the cartwheel suplex and gets the sliding lariat and loses. I didn't think much of this matchup. I like the Creed brothers, but I wouldn't say this was their best matchup, and I'm not into this angle like at all. Like, I'm sorry. I say this every week to Sat, but Roddy Strong is not the Roddy Strong that I fell in love with. He's another guy on the show that has been defined as a loser, so I can't even think that he's gonna win these matches even a little bit at this point.
Yeah, the worst thing that could have happened to him, it was reported that he wanted to leave. He's never going to win now. And he probably signed like a 3-year deal or something. Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of into this angle. Like, I'm not over the moon for it or anything, but I think the Creeds are really good. I think Julius Creed is ridiculously impressive. He does a lot of very cool power spots. I think his suplex that he did from a seated position last week was like one of the craziest things I've ever seen. He's really, really, really good. He's really inexperienced. And I love this one guy. He's like, Tempest hates everything. NXT 2.0, Big Bang Theory, and Wendy Chu. Man, that's really everything. I really hate every single thing, including these 3 exceptionally terrible things. Cheers, bro.
He even admitted that Big Bang Theory is not that good.
Yeah. Who's biased? Anyway. Yeah, I'll come out with I like Chris Hill's thing. I'll come out with a black mask because I'm a heel. Apparently, I'm feisty today. I kind of like this angle. I wish it would speed itself up a little bit. I wish we'd kind of get to the point. I feel like we've been teasing the destruction of Diamond Mine for forever. Like, has this faction ever actually had its legs under it? maybe just briefly when the Creeds won, but there's always been something here. Like something's never been right. And I want that to kind of get to the point, but I always seem to understand the motivations of people in this feud. And I like that because I can't say that about most WWE programs where I look at Roddy and the times where he's gotten upset at the Creeds for not listening to him. I'm like, okay, you are the leader of this crew. If you blind tag into a match, well, in theory, he's the leader of this crew. Not anymore, he's losing, but in theory, he's supposed to be the one that they learned from, right? So if he blinds tags in, get out of the ring. He's more experienced. Do what he says. And when he wanted to get DQ'd at one point because that would be a win. Like I can see where he's coming from when he's getting frustrated with these guys not listening. And I also see where the Creeds are coming from because how would you know that without him telling you that? And the communication isn't there, but it's like genuine miscommunication. It's not just a miscommunication spot for the sake of having one because it's time to break up the team. I see where all these things go, and I like that. And like, again, with the finish of the match, Roddy Strong just tagging out to his partner and letting his partner take the fall. I'm like, okay, yeah, like there's still advancement happening in this story. And I'll take that where I can get it.
Yeah, I just feel like Diamond Mine is like a family where the dad leaves, the papa was a Rolling Stone and he left, Malcolm Bivens, and then the older brother who's been working at the car lot for like 15 years, not progressing anywhere. He's defined as a loser because he can't get a date, he can't do anything right, and he's trying to pick on the two older brothers that are going to college, that are doing something with their life, and it's just like, how am I supposed to feel conflicted about this? I don't care about this older brother who thinks that he's the man of the house now. No, you're not. Your two younger brothers are so much more successful than you.
Damn. Yeah. I mean, I would certainly be pushing Roddy Strong a lot harder if I was in charge, but I wouldn't be doing a lot of things that they would do. Like, yeah, I see where you're coming from. Totally. The poor Diamond Mine. Like they debuted. Like, remember when they had big plans for the cruiserweight division with Roddy Strong as champion, and none of that happened. So yeah.
Man, the cruiserweight division was so much better before they had big plans for them. Go figure.
Yeah.
And we got a new member. Shout out to JS Woolton. Yes. Woo woo. Woo. Thanks for joining the member Bergs. We always appreciate that, and we'll always shout that out as well. Backstage, first we had a vignette for a new superstar who loves mathematics and is technically gifted in the ring. He says the mind can push you to new heights. He is Axiom. I think that's the name. And Tempest, we've been asking for me and Seth for weeks. They found a kid. Our work has worked. We put it on milk cartons everywhere, and they finally found a kid. I'm so happy.
Yeah, honestly, like, I'm gonna be real. I for some reason just like all of the names that are something kid. Doesn't really matter. That's just a personal thing. I know this one sucks. His name is A Kid. That's a bad name. Like, I'm gonna be real. That's a bad ring name. This is one I'm not gonna be upset if they change. And it's like, well, Axiom. It's like it's a cool sounding word.
Yeah.
If you're just picking out cool sounding things to be a ring name, like, yeah, cool. Like, I'm not bent one way or the other about it. It's neat. I'm glad he's going to be back on TV. He's great.
Yeah, he is. He's really good. So I was interested, but basically his character is he's a nerd. He's a nerd.
Oh yeah, I love that. That'll get over. We got a math nerd. We got a virgin. Do we need to hit any other things?
This is gonna be a character that Tempest hates the most because it's basically
Oh my
Sheldon as a wrestler. It's Sheldon from Big Bang Theory as a wrestler. Actually, he uses mathematics to get to be more technically gifted in the ring. Excellent.
Bazinga.
He said the line. He said the word. Backstage, Mackenzie interviews Von Wagner, Mr. Stone, and Sophia Cromwell. They're complaining about not being on Great American Bash. They blame the fans for not liking Von. Oh, who wouldn't? Solo Sikoa interrupts and says, "Stop whining and blaming the fans." And we get a pull apart brawl between the two men. And this sets up a match for next week between Wagner and Sikoa. Not much to say here. I mean, I think we're all going for Solo. And then we get our main event. So last call for Mocha Chats, WrestleTalk.com/support. We get the big fight feel backstage walks to the ring with both men and Tempest. Your favorite thing ever we got during the introductions, intangibles.
Yeah. Every once in a while, they bring them back. It's like they knew I was watching.
They knew you were going to be on the show, so I had to write them down as well. Cameron Grimes, his intangibles are heart and grit, and Braun Breaker's intangibles is resilient and tenacious.
You know, they figured out the noun or adjective thing, and I appreciate that. It was a big part of why these things didn't make sense. However, it was also a big part of what made them funny. So if they want to fix it back for the sake of the lols, that's also fine.
They did it just for you.
Yeah.
Breaker uses his power to get an early advantage, but Grimes starts focusing on the injured shoulder. Some great selling by Breaker here. This was probably his best selling that I've seen in a match, pretty much. Braun makes his comeback, but Cameron cuts him off with his moonsault slam. Always one of my favorite moves that he does for a near fall. And then the way he pins someone after, where he kind of just faints on top of them. So when they kick out, he does like a dramatic like flip over. I love that every single time. Grimes goes after the arm and goes to the top rope, but Braun cuts him off and hits a Frankensteiner off the top for a 2 count. Grimes looks for the octopus hold at one point, but Braun fights his way out. Cameron rams his shoulder into the turnbuckle again and then goes for the cave-in for a great near fall. The fans were on their feet at this point, and then Cameron looks like he's going for a top second rope cave-in. He says he's going to the moon, but Braun catches him in midair with the spear for the win. I thought that this was a really good main event, with Breaker giving a lot to Cameron Grimes, making him look strong in defeat. Post-match, Breaker is celebrating in the aisleway, and then out of nowhere, we got a vignette earlier in the night that said that JD McDonough was gonna debut next week, but out of nowhere, he comes at the end of the show. He attacks Braun Breaker. He hits the Devlin side through a picnic table in the entranceway, and then he tells Breaker that he should have been listening because he's been talking to him this entire time, and that the necessary evil has arrived in NXT 2.0. What did you think about the main event and the post-match with the official debut of JD McDonough?
I thought the match was really strong. I like that they gave this match a different flavor than Braun Breaker's other NXT title matches. Like, he hasn't had to sell this much. He hasn't had to sell like a pre-existing injury, especially to a shoulder. Like, it's a different match, and I appreciate that. I like when these matches are very different. I like what they've done with Cameron Grimes here, you know? And I think you'll appreciate this. You'll know what I'm talking about. I wouldn't be able to make this reference if I was doing the show with Pete or somebody. But this gave me very strong King of Pro Wrestling 2013 Tanahashi versus Okada vibes, where Tanahashi doesn't turn heel, but he is underhanded in what he's done to try and win this match. And that is almost more interesting to me than a heel turn, because in this situation, I don't know if they're going to go this direction. This might be a little bit too, like, you know, this might be too big of a storyline for NXT 2.0. But if they were to go in the direction that Cameron Grimes now has to look inward upon himself because he tried to take Braun Breaker out ahead of time to gain an advantage, and it didn't work. And now he has to look at himself and the kind of man and the kind of champion he would want to be, having failed, rather than having done that and succeeded, or having done that and just completely turned heel and rearranged his entire outlook. If they just play this subtly and have him do more introspective character work, I think that's awesome. I think that would be one of the better storylines they could do in NXT. And this might just be me fantasy booking, but that's the vibe I got from this, because I didn't feel like Cameron Grimes turned heel with all this. I just feel like he's a deeper character for having done it. And that's exciting. Jordan Devlin here. I don't care. I'll be honest. Like, it'll be a good match, but I don't care. Patrick Bateman looking ass. Like, I don't care. Sorry, I'm not going to get into him. I'm not going to get into him for reasons, you know?
No.
He's a solid wrestler. The match will be good. I don't care. You know?
I totally understand. Especially after he said Tanahashi can't lace his boots, and you brought up Tanahashi. I was just like, man, he got rightfully ripped apart for that.
Yeah, someone else said, what were they got Velcro on them? And I echo that sentiment.
Very nice.
Keep Tanahashi's name out your goddamn mouth.
That's blasphemy. You don't talk about
blasphemous. You don't talk about God. No, you do not take God's name in vain.
You watch your mouth, sir. You watch your mouth. But yeah, I totally agree with you though. I don't see how this is gonna lead to anything good, and this feels like a little bit too soon for someone debuting to get right to the top with the NXT championship. But hey, yes, Annika said now Tempest don't like Patrick.
Oh, I love that movie. I love American Psycho. That is one of my favorite movies, genuinely. In case you thought I hate fun.
Oh, I love it. I love how people jump from one thing to another. You guys are great in the chat. But let's get into the Mocha chats. WrestleTalk.com/support. We got one from one of the good brothers, Mayor of Painesville, Dan, who says, "Here we go. Looks like Tempest will never escape the hands of the Heartbreak Kid. NXT 2.0 for life. I watched this show, the first NXT 2.0 in a while, and I enjoyed it. The intro was fun. The matches were okay. Cora Jade, Waller, and Gigi Dolan. Top. JD flop." I can understand.
Interesting. Yeah. All right, Dan. All right, Dan. Thank you, Dan. I haven't had a chance to thank you. Dan's a very kind person. He's sending a gift to the sending something to the office, and I'm very excited about it. So thank you, Dan. You're great.
Dan is the best, and we always enjoy his Mocha chats, his input as always. We got one from AO1012 who says, "Tempest, if you want to see a good Ivy match, check out her and Mako in NXT UK. It was solid, and they gave Niall time to show her skills."
I would believe that would be good. I might check that out.
Mako Satomura. I mean, I'm always down for her. Yes.
If you're going to have a good match with somebody, Mako Satomura is going to be one of the people you're going to have it with, for sure.
Absolutely. Every single time. I mean, her and Kaylee Ray was a really great matchup. So I'll even check that out as well. And I rarely check out NXT UK. NXT UK and NWA is the two shows that I don't watch too often. And then we got one from Tails P who says, "I can see Roxy winning next week. Toxic could be a good group of heels to lead to feud with to feed to live." Oh, Chu is speed running through all the New Day gimmicks, but losing. She'll probably bring up breakfast soon. What is JD's move? The JD side? The McDonough flip? The Ace Crusher? Yeah, I was wondering that when I wrote down that's that move is called the Devlin side. I was like, oh, they got to change that move now because he's not Devlin.
No, that would be too simple. Jordan Devlin McDonough.
You know why couldn't they? Why they couldn't call him Jordan D. McDonough? Just leave it ambiguous. If you don't want people searching Jordan Devlin, then make it ambiguous and just put Jordan D. McDonough.
Who knows? I don't know. This is not something I'm getting worked up over. I've blown that gasket already.
That is fair. That is fair. I do see in the chat they are saying that we have one more Mocha chat, but I haven't seen it yet. Oh, there it is. There we go. Just in time. We got another one here from AO1012 who says post show on the NXT Twitter was foreshadowing Grimes either feuding with Gacy or joining Judgment Day. What?
Oh, I would rather have him join Judgment Day.
I would rather him feud with Gacy because the one thing this show was missing was a Joe Gacy promo. They didn't want me to show my favorite moment, my favorite segment of doing this show on this YouTube channel to Tempest, where I could have sang "Love is blind, the grass is greener on the other side." They denied you. They denied you a Gacy promo, Tempest.
Oh, darn. Oh dear, I'll catch the next one.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will.
I will.
But yes, I don't know. I wouldn't say going to Judgment Day is too good either, because weren't they on like main event 2 weeks ago?
Yep. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't see. That's why I want to see a cool story told running off of what we've got going on now. I don't think Cameron Grimes is going to do well on the main roster, if I had to guess.
No,
maybe he's very charismatic and he can talk. He might be able to pull something off. I've been wrong before, but I don't know. He doesn't strike me as a Zion Quinn.
or Sangha the Thunder, who seemed like he started a feud with Duke Hudson during the barbecue segment. So
yeah, whatever.
Maybe we'll get that next time. You know, must watch television, NXT 2.0. But Tempest, thank you so much for filling in for Sat. Sat is at the Jericho show in London, so I appreciate my Canadian / UK resident, my favorite, joining me on the show. Please let the people know when they're gonna see you back on the channel, because you are one of the faces here. And the Jam That Champion. Congratulations on that.
Of course, I could be wrong, but I think I'm doing the AEW podcast tomorrow. I would have to check that. It's either tomorrow or next week. So you'll see me on an AEW podcast very soon. I'm doing, of course, SmackDown and Rampage this week, which I always do with the lovely Pete Quinnell. And yeah, you can follow me on Twitter or something at TempestWT. That'd be fun. Do that. I'd say a lot of really random things about this silly country that I've moved to. They call creamsicles ice lollies, SP3. What is an ice lolly?
Chips. They call French fries chips. I was like,
yeah,
no, there's
a potato chip.
No, there's potato chips.
I get it. That's a whole separate thing. It's a cream popsicle. It's not an ice lolly. What is that? This is another thing. Save this for the post show.
Yes, you got an American and a Canadian talking about living in the UK. Join us next week. Like Tempest said, you got the AEW Dynamite review tomorrow. Friday, you got the magazine show with Denise and Luke. On Saturday, Tempest will be back here with Pete LIW for life, reviewing SmackDown and Rampage. Subscribe, hit the bell to stay notified. Me and Seth will see you next Wednesday. So until next time, this has been Canadian Mocha 2.0.